Okay.
I like that.
Let's create a new project. Create a new project here. I'm going to call it week 4. You guys can just watch for now. If you want to follow along, you can. I'm not really going to go that slow though, so you guys can do the lab. So the idea behind this is that I just want to set up a variable that can take what I'm pushing on the keyboard and do something with it. Because when you have a rolling ball game, you kind of have WASD push the ball. It kind of like has momentum, right? So you want to take that and you want to apply it to something in the game. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up my scene as I usually do. I'm just going to add a plane here and make it kind of big. I'm also going to add a sphere to the level. Oh man, Unity is crapping out on me. So it's okay. It's okay, Unity. You can. There we go. Okay, so there's my Death Star. You guys can put a material on it. We are going to make this thing move, so it might be helpful to put a different material other than just having like the default like gray material here. Wow, it really doesn't like it. And then I'm going to import Playmaker, and I happen to have Playmaker here already prepared. And at the same time, I'm also going to probably import in the, I have a bunch of Playmaker objects here, as well as the prototyping package. You guys can do all this stuff too if you haven't already. Like get Playmaker up and running, import the prototyping package if you're running Unity 5. Otherwise, you can import in the Playmaker assets. Shut this down. Okay, so I have Playmaker now, and I'm just going to drag in these other Playmaker packages for sounds and objects. Just because it has some materials in it that are kind of useful. And finally, I'm going to import in the prototyping package.
Are you just dragging those into assets?
Yeah, I showed 2 different ways. You can actually just drag in something that has a .unity package into the folder, and it'll bring up a dialog to import. So like dragging one of these things, you can just drag it here, and it brings up this.
What are you saying when you're importing like the Playmaker package?
You can. I wanted to show 2 different ways to do it. So you can also just right-click and import custom package, and this thing will let you point to a package this way.
Okay.
It's only useful really if you don't have the ability to drag and drop that easily. And while I'm here, I might as well just make a material for this thing. You guys can make a material for it as well if you feel like. I'm just going to put a material in my sphere. Oh, I already have a materials package. Hey, look at that. Create a material. Call it sphere, and then I'll pick a texture for it. And then I can drag this on top of the sphere. Now you guys can see I have a sphere that has actually material on it. What happens when I pick this? Okay, it's metallic. Okay, so I want to add some behavior to this. So the first thing I'm going to do is talk a little bit about variables. So let's add a Playmaker FSM on the sphere, and then I'll edit it. And this is all in the lab work, so you guys can just pay attention for now, unless you're following along. I have a state here. My Unity game does not like me doing that. So on my state, I have nothing in there. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add an action called getAccessVector. And this is kind of an interesting, kind of very specific action. What it does is it takes input from the keyboard or a controller, or if you have this on an Android device, your finger, and it figures out what direction you want to move, and then we'll try to put that direction into a variable. And specifically, you can see I have a red drop-down box that's highlighted that says none. It's asking that I tell it what variable to put this direction into. It's trying to map a my keyboard movement into a vector3 variable. So if I click on this drop-down box, you see that there's none here, and it's red. It's very angry that I haven't put in a variable yet. It really is demanding that I put something in there. So let's give it something to put in there. So I'm going to go in here, this tab for variables. I'm going to create a new variable called input. This represents a vector3, which is a 3-dimensional input. And I'm just going to click add, and you can see it show up here. And you notice, if you look down here, here are the numbers that make up this variable, an x, a y, and a z. And these are just numbers. You can just type in whatever you want here. They represent whatever numbers you want. They represent float numbers. But by default, I'm just going to leave them all at 0. I don't really need to have these things have numbers in them. And then I'm just going to stick that input into here. And I'm going to click this little checkbox that says debug, which brings up this. Can you guys see that thing showing up? It shows me what numbers the variable has right now. Okay. And then while this thing is here, I'm going to move it over to the right. I'm going to click play. Make sure my game is active. Don't show this. Now I want you guys to watch this thing here. Can you guys see it moving? Right?
Yeah.
Can you guys tell what direction I'm hitting right now? That's X.
Forward?
Good guess. This is actually left. Can you see it says -1? It might be hard to see. And this says 1.
Oh, okay.
And then there, I'm hitting up and down. You guys see how it's changing? And actually, if I hit more than one direction at the same time, it fills in both, X and Z. Notice the middle number here never changes. Why is that? What does Y represent in Unity? Up and down.
So you'd have to jump.
Yeah, I'd have to do something to get me to move up and down, which currently in my game, the way the input is set up, it doesn't actually know what up and down is. So there's actually no way for me to push up. But there could be in your game. You might have, like let's say you're making a 3D spaceship game like Star Citizen, right? Maybe spacebar makes you go up, and like Alt makes you go down or something. In that case, you would have a 3-dimensional input vector. Or let's say you had like...
If you go up a slope, is it going to calculate that?
No, this is only what keys I'm currently pressing.
Okay,
This
so
only
it's
represents...
not like where you are in the world.
No, it has nothing to do with that. Literally, notice how my ball isn't moving at all.
Yeah.
It's just representing what directions I'm currently pushing on the keyboard or the controller. And this is the important bit. It doesn't know what to do with that information yet. It just knows that it's going to store it in this variable here. Okay. All right. So I want you guys to do lab number 1, which is to get caught up to that point. So go into Zool and grab lab number 1, which will walk you through creating that variable. And I want you to get to the same exact spot that I did where you see the number changing when you're hitting the direction on the keyboard. Once you're done with that, you can do lab number 2, which is to take that and move the ball with it. Okay? All right, so do that. And then once you're done with